Yesterday I made a video where I said that I would be selling some things, at least partially, until August, or rather until the end of August, because I'm expecting a correction around then. And I know the title was more of a clickbait, but I made it very clear in the video that I'm not going to sell everything here. I said I would only be taking partial profits because I'm expecting a correction of 15 to 30%, which is completely normal. I mean, just look at this upward trend. We haven't had any really big corrections here yet. We've gone from $98,000, boom, straight up to $123,000, seemingly without any correction. I'm just expecting a more medium-term correction, which is completely normal here. That kind of thing is just a normal part of the market. That's what I expect, and that's what I mentioned in the video. And yet, I still got comments where some people are complaining again. Hey, I thought the altcoin season was coming. Why should I sell now after all? I'm not talking about an altcoin season. I've been saying for months that a few other things still need to happen for that. But I always like to say the foundation for the altcoin season is currently being laid. Just like some people didn't get it here, I don't get it either. In August, when the correction comes, should I sell mine then? No, we're selling partially now, before the correction comes, or at least that's what I'm doing. This is not investment advice, you can do whatever you want, but I have to make this video because there really are people who simply don't understand some basic things here. Just like that guy. I thought this was going to be an awesome week, turns out it was a total flop. Just because I made a video at the beginning of the week and said it was going to be a really exciting week. And you know, this week is very exciting. Lots of quarterly earnings, we had the Fed meeting and so on. So really, a very, very exciting week. Besides, I never said in the video that there would be a big correction tomorrow. I said that in the next few days, I first expect an upward trend and then a moderate correction. And that's always really problematic when, as a YouTuber, you say you're selling something because then you immediately lose subscribers and get nothing but hate comments. People don't want to hear that. But friends, we stay rational. I can't lie to you. As I said, I'm only expecting a correction down to $110,000 for now. Let's see if it goes even lower or if that's it for now. And that's important to understand. This is a completely normal correction. After that, I do expect a strong upward trend, but for now, I'm expecting a moderate correction. And I have to be that honest with you. And because many people don't understand this, I'm going to show you an exit strategy now, especially for altcoins. Because in my opinion, this cycle is a bit different. It's unfolding a bit differently than in the past. If you lay all the cycles on top of each other, you can see it very clearly. In terms of Bitcoin dominance, we have been dropping a bit over the past few days, but overall, we're definitely lagging behind here. And that's why in today's video, we're talking about the exit strategy for altcoins. Let's start with the market structure, or rather with the rotation signals. A very clear rotation signal would of course be the altcoin season index. Yes, it's a pretty simple index, but it's still meaningful. I mean, just take a look at it. Every time we're in the altcoin season here, that's when you should be cautious and definitely start thinking about selling. Because the higher we are here, the more overheated things are. We should also take a very close look at Bitcoin dominance. And here I've marked the golden zone for you because personally, when Bitcoin dominance is between about 50 and 42%, I sell all my altcoins. Because the lower Bitcoin dominance goes, the more money is being shifted into altcoins. The problem is, at some point we get too low and then we're simply in a bear market and Bitcoin dominance just stays around 40%. That's why on average, this is the golden zone where altcoins perform best and where you should definitely start exiting the altcoin sector. I also look at the dominance of open interest because here, in red and orange, we can see the open interest of the altcoins and in blue, we see that of Bitcoin. And the more open interest the altcoins get here, the more likely it is that we're seeing a top. So this is also a very interesting chart that really shows where the market's interest lies, whether it's more in Bitcoin or in the altcoins. And the more dramatically we break out here, the more interest there is in the altcoins and the more cautious we need to be. Then I also take a close look at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart because we were in a downtrend here for a very long time. Bitcoin has completely outperformed Ethereum over the past few years. But now we've broken out of the downtrend, we've seen a nice candle here, and now it depends on what happens next. There are also certain zones here that are important. For example, this zone right here, I think it will get interesting if we break through that, and I would also exit the market here if we're in this area between Ethereum and Bitcoin between 0.8 and 0.6. At the latest, in that range, you should probably already be selling some altcoins because on this chart you can see exactly how strongly each asset is performing and just how much Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin. And we can also see here that it's continuously weakening. That's why I think this zone here could definitely become interesting as well. That's why I would also start here to systematically sell off most altcoins piece by piece, just as we absolutely have to look at the MVRV long-term holder chart, because here we can see very clearly what the long-term holders are doing. And the higher we are here, the more likely it is that we're at the peak. Take a look at it. Every time we're at the peak, we've seen an extreme spike here. Right now, we're at a kind of medium level here, and if we should see another real spike, especially if we experience a rapid upward trend, that's the point when you should start to be cautious and consider gradually selling certain altcoins. And you can take a look at Google Trends. Here you search for altcoins and check out where we currently stand. We're definitely already in this overheated zone when it comes to altcoins, or rather, in terms of search queries for altcoins. And that's also part of the reason why I said yesterday that I will be selling some altcoins in August. I'm not going to sell everything, I just wanted to take some partial profits. In terms of social metrics, we've definitely already attracted a bit of retail, at least when it comes to altcoins. Then, especially with the macro indicators, let's take a look at this. For example, global liquidity bands in relation to the Ethereum price. It's an interesting chart because this chart has accurately predicted several bull market tops. Take a look. When the Ethereum price, which is shown here in the middle, exceeds global liquidity, that's exactly when you should start selling Ethereum. And when we fall below global liquidity here, in the green area, that's exactly when we should be buying. Right here you can see again, you should sell. Here you can see that's when Ethereum was at its cheapest, and right here you could have bought in again. So this is also an extremely important chart that connects the Ethereum price with the macro world with global liquidity. This is a really very meaningful indicator that I like a lot, especially for predicting when Ethereum is at its top and when it's at its bottom. So far it has definitely been spot on. And I would take a look at Bitcoin dominance in relation to this indicator, the copper to gold ratio. Because every time copper outperforms gold, we've seen a drop in Bitcoin dominance and an altcoin season. Please take a look at it. A very important indicator, especially when considering the global economic situation in relation to the crypto market. In my opinion, these two indicators are the best macro indicators when it comes to altcoins. And now I'll show you a simple RSI strategy. For this RSI strategy, we look at the daily chart for altcoins, add the RSI, and analyze everything solely based on this indicator. Because with the RSI, which is very straightforward, you can easily sell at the tops. And there are a few rules for this strategy. If the RSI enters this overheated zone, meaning above this area over 70, if it breaks out here and stays above, then we should start thinking about selling. That means we should sell within the next 7 to 14 days. If the RSI overheats from the bottom and rises very quickly into the overheated zone, we shouldn't wait 7 to 14 days to sell, but instead sell as quickly as possible. A good example of a very quickly overheated RSI is simply this one down here. Here, the RSI overheated extremely fast from the bottom up, and accordingly, we saw the top very quickly here, and then a correction followed. But if we see a correction like this in the RSI, then another correction, and we gradually build up over a longer period of time, then we shouldn't sell immediately, but instead start taking profits slowly, bit by bit. But in this example, we would have more time. I'll show you this with XRP as well. Take a look at this RSI down here. Here we rose way too quickly. Accordingly, you should sell quickly in this area because a major correction followed, of course. With this strategy, you can also include the 25 EMA because you could approach it by saying that if you fall below the 25 EMA on the daily chart, you should exit the position completely at the latest. For example, here's a perfect example. Here we had a nice uptrend. You could have speculated that it would go even higher, but we fell below the 25 EMA here. At the very latest, you should definitely exit the position here, and you can see what happened afterwards, a long sideways phase, a period where nothing happened anymore. It was only when we broke above the 25 EMA again here on the daily chart and did so decisively that we saw a nice upward trend, and we also had a sustained rise in the RSI. That's why you could have started selling off gradually here, bit by bit, but you didn't have to sell everything at once. Not quite so quickly. Here, because it's so sustainable, you would have had a bit more time. So the RSI is a super simple indicator, but it's very important in this combination, especially with altcoins. I think this indicator is really great for figuring out where the top is with altcoins. I mean, you can see it. Here we were overheated, and that's where we formed our top. Here we were overheated, and that's where we formed our top. Here we were overheated, and here we had our top. Here we were overheated, here we had our top, and so on. With altcoins, you can use this indicator super simply and at any time, and that's why I do all this. I hope you enjoyed this video. It was a lot of work, but as always, leave a like and a comment, and see you next time, friends. Ciao.